Okay. Hello. Today today we have 4 people. Talmud is catching. We just can't see everybody on camera right now. Okay, so 56a. What did we finish with? If we say it is speaking of a staple wall that would not have fallen by itself, the one who breached it should be liable according to human laws, at least for the damage caused to the wall. Rather, here...
Okay, so hold on. Background information for the people who are just joining us. Basically, we're talking about now if, like, a sheep gets out of a pen and, like, tramples and eats, like, this garden for somebody else, who's liable? Great. So we have, but now we're talking about
how stable was the wall?
How stable was the wall? Was it locked appropriately? Was the question.
That's stuff like that.
Okay.
The Baraita is speaking of an unstable wall that was about to fall and break in any event, and so his action did not actually cause any loss to the owner.
I'm really glad that we know that the Baraita was talking about that. The master says, with regard to the case mentioned in the Baraita of one who bends another's standing grain before a fire, what are the circumstances? If we say that the Baraita is referring to a case where the fire would reach the bent grain in a typical wind, let him be liable for the damage according to human laws. Because we were also talking about human laws versus the laws of heaven. Rather, it must be a case where the fire could reach the bent grain only in an atypical wind. Therefore, he is exempt according to human laws. And since the grain was destroyed due to his action, he is liable according to the laws of heaven.
So it's like he has to apologize to God, I guess.
And Rav Ashi offered an alternative explanation and said, the Baraita was stated in the case of a concealed item. In other words, this person did not bend the grain toward the fire, but bent it over another item in order to conceal it.
Okay.
One is not liable to pay restitution for concealed items damaged by fire. Therefore, when this person bent the grain over an item, he caused indirect damage to the owner of that item because he made it into a concealed item that was subsequently damaged by fire. The owner cannot reclaim his loss.
And that's why he's liable.
Concealed item.
Because he concealed it by bending it over.
Wow.
The master says, with regard to the case mentioned in the Baraita of one who hires false witnesses, what are the circumstances? If we say that that he hired them for his own benefit in order to extract payment from another, he is required to reimburse that person with money, and he is liable according to human laws for receiving money under false circumstances. Rather, the case is one where he hired false witnesses for the benefit of another. In such a case, the injured party cannot sue the other litigant, since the latter did not hire the witnesses, nor can he sue the person who hired them, since the person received no personal benefit.
The injured party cannot sue the other litigant.
Oh my gosh.
Because of false witnesses? Okay.
Okay.
The Baraita teaches, and one who knows testimony in support of another but does not testify on his behalf is exempt from liability according to human laws, but liable according to the laws of heaven. With what circumstances are we dealing? That would be like your conscience. Yeah. If we say that the case involves 2 people who could testify and their evidence would render the other party liable to pay, it is obvious that each of them is liable according to the laws of heaven. He has committed a transgression by Torah law. If he does not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. Therefore, it is unnecessary for the Baraita to mention the case. Everybody should know it.
Everybody should know it. You don't have to mention it because it says so in the Torah. There was fully one the other day where it was like, where they were asking about, they were asking somebody, he's like, I actually don't know this Torah verse very well, so you should go ask somebody else. And that's like written.
Yeah, it was written down. It's so cute.
Okay. Rather, the case of the Baraita concerns a single witness whose testimony is not sufficient to render another liable, and to which the transgression of Torah law consequently does not apply. Nevertheless, a litigant can be forced to take an oath based on the testimony of a single witness, and refusal to take this oath would obligate the litigant to pay. Therefore, the witness has caused an indirect loss and is liable according to the laws of heaven. Also, sometimes what's really funny is, you probably know this already from Safaria, but the bold is what is direct translation, and then the non-bold is like commentary to help you understand the direct translation. Yes. So that's why sometimes you have like 2 Hebrew words and then like 4 paragraphs.
Got it. The Gemara asks, and is there nothing else, i.e. is there no other case in which one is exempt according to human laws but liable according to the laws of heaven? But there is such a case. And before citing several cases that are not written in the Baraita, the Gemara presents a mnemonic device. One who performs with poison and an agent, another is broken.
Whoa, one who performs
with poison and an agent, another is broken. Okay. The Gemara returns to the first case. one who performs labor with water of purification, which was meant to be used to purify one rendered ritually impure by a corpse, thereby rendering the water unfit for use, or who performs labor with the red heifer of purification,
Good.
invalidating the animal for use as an element of the purification ritual, is exempt according to human laws, since the damage he caused is not evident, but liable according to the laws of heaven, as he caused a financial loss. I totally got lost
No,
in
I
that.
understand this because it's like, like if things have to be explained, like we naturally are afraid of snakes, but like if you have to be explained to be afraid of cars, then that's what I'm thinking. It's like, it's a cow. Why can't I use this cow for work? Oh, it happens to be red. It's special. Oh, okay. Like it's like it's not a human law. Like, oh, you could use any cow for work.
And there are some things that like you don't want to task humans with being able to like say something about.
Yeah.
Because like the idea is that like heaven has this perfect understanding and we have imperfect understanding, so we don't want them to be liable according to like human laws because we don't want the job of having to figure that out.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So he caused a financial. Wait, we're down here now, right? Yeah. That little one.
The Gemara adds, but there is a following halacha with regard to one who places poison before another's animal.
Oh, no.
And the animal eats it and dies. He is exempt according to human laws, since the animal caused its own death,
That's true.
but liable according to the laws of heaven.
Okay.
Got see that makes sense.
Okay.
I didn't know your animal was gonna eat my poison.
Wait,
What?
I'm really lost, but that's okay.
No, I think go for it.
Yeah, go.
That's what this is about.
Because it is hard because they're always just continuing from like forever. So like.
Well, no, I'm
You're
just
not
like,
liable, but according to human laws, because technically the animal caused his own death. But in the bigger picture,
Well,
In the
but
bigger
you
picture,
made-
your fault.
that should be, yeah.
You put the
Poison
poison there
there.
before.
Yeah.
now.
okay.
Yeah. It's this idea like I didn't know if he was gonna eat it, so it's not my job. And,
Yeah.
But God knows.
Yeah.
Like heaven knows.
God no. Here we can try this. The Gemara adds, but there is the case of one who sends an exposed
hate this
flame in the hand of a deaf, mute, an imbecile, or a minor.
So these
And
are
the fire
categories of people that
spreads.
are like not. You know this. I don't know if I'm saying this to you. These are categories of people who are not halachically liable.
And the fire spreads, causing damage. He is exempt according to human laws, but liable according to the laws of heaven.
Wait, why? Go back. Say it again.
So wait,
One who sends
There's
an
a-
exposed.
Flame in the hands of a deaf
so
mute
if
and
I
imbecile.
give you the flame,
Yes.
and you are deaf, you're an imbecile.
Not halachically liable, yes. And the fire
It's
spreads,
not my
causing
fault.
It's
damage.
not your
It's
fault.
not your fault.
By human laws, because you didn't cause it.
But I
okay,
should've-
but you
but I
are
should've
liable.
known
but
better.
according-
You should have
okay,
known
yes.
better. That's
Good.
the heaven law.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm on board with this. Okay.
I don't know. I
I
feel like
don't
the
think I'm
You
on
poison.
board
should
with
be,
it, but
you
that's
should be
okay.
liable by human laws too.
I mean, I
but-
see, and I think that one is not actually like that makes sense. Like because maybe I don't know that. I mean,
Well, you don't know that I'm
That
not
you're a deaf
halachically
mute.
liable, or maybe I'm just
maybe I don't.
atypically
I
stupid and
realize
you
that
don't
you're
know
an-
that.
I didn't know that you were an imbecile.
Okay,
but
valid.
like the animal, like to me that
You should know that an animal is dumb.
Or a child is a child.
Yeah.
Okay, the one.
Oh, mine. The Gemara adds, but there's a case of one who frightens another without touching him, but causes him injury, and he is exempt according to
Oh.
human laws, but liable according to the laws of heaven.
I frightened you by jumping out of a thing or something, and now
Oh,
you
that's
you,
so
stu- you
sad.
stumbled backwards and you fell over.
The Gemara adds, but there is the case of one whose jug broke in the public domain and he did not remove the broken pieces, or one whose camel fell and he did not stand it up again. Gotta stand your camel up again. Rabbi Meir deems the owner of the jug or of the camel liable for the damage thereby caused to others.
Guys, you can't just leave your camel in the road.
Hurt
I guess
someone.
they can't
Stand
stand
it
up. Camels can't get back up themselves.
Is this a win for the camel?
This is a win for the camel.
Yeah, it's the camel's like, oh, I can't.
And the rabbi says that he is exempt according to human laws, but liable according to the laws of heaven. Since there are so many other cases, why did Rabbi Yeshua claim that the Baraita that there are only 4 cases where one is exempt according to human
If
laws,
there's
but
so
liable
many
according to
cases,
the laws
why
of
did
heaven?
he say that? That's a good
Rabbi
question.
Yehoshua doesn't know how to count.
the Gemara answers, yes, there are. In any event, wait, what is he answering? Yes,
Yes,
to?
yes, there's
There
more than
are
four.
more than
No
four
more.
cases.
Yes, there are. In any event, many other cases. But Rabbi
Yehoshua.
held that it was necessary for him to state the halakha of these 4 cases. The reason he stated them is lest you say that in these cases one should not be liable even according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in these cases one is liable according to the laws of heaven.
Okay.
Lest you say one should not be liable.
So they're saying
maybe they're
these,
somewhat confusing or something.
Yeah, like these specific cases, these are the cases where a normal person might think, oh, they're not even liable according to the laws of heaven, but they are, and it's important that you know that, and that's why Rabbi Yehoshua said there were 4.
Okay. The Gemara explains why one might have thought that there is no liability at all for each case.
I love
in the
when I'm
Baraita.
right.
You are the Gemara. Rabbi Yehoshua
the Gemara.
Wow,
That-
Hayley. I'm excited to join this.
One who breaches a fence that stood before another's animal, thereby allowing the animal to escape, is liable according to the laws of heaven. Lest you say, since the fence is about to collapse, even without this person's intervention, what did he really do? Based on that logic, one might have thought that he should not be liable, even according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in such a case, he is liable according to the laws of heaven,
Good.
even though it was about to break.
Rabbi Yehoshua.
Rabbi Yehoshua taught that one who bends another's standing grain is liable according to the laws of heaven, lest you say, let one who bent the grain say to the owner, did I know that an atypical wind would come and cause the fire to spread? Based on that logic, one might have thought that he should not be liable even according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in such a case, he is liable according to the laws of
Yeah,
heaven.
because you helped it. Maybe the wind it would have been just that, like, little bit.
And according to Rav Ashi, who said that Rabbi Yehoshua's ruling was stated with regard to the case of a concealed item, Rabbi Yehoshua mentioned liability according to the laws of heaven, lest you say that the one who concealed the item could say, I covered it for you in order to protect it from the fire. Based on that logic, one might have thought that he should not be liable even according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in such a case, he is liable according to the laws of heaven.
I covered it for you.
I did it on for
I did
you.
it to protect you.
For safety.
And Rabbi Yehoshua taught that there is a liability also in the case of one who hires false witnesses, lest you say, let the one who hired them say, if the witness hear the statement of the teacher, i.e. God, who prohibited giving false testimony, and the statement of the student, i.e. the one who hired them, to whose statement should they listen? Although the one who hired them encouraged these witnesses to sin, ultimately it was they who transgressed by not adhering to the instructions of God. And based on this logic, one might have thought that he should not be liable even according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in such a case, he is liable according to the laws of heaven.
Because they listened to him. Or they were, whatever.
There's a really interesting thing somewhere in the Torah, and I really hope I'm right when I say this because it's recorded, but there's something really interesting in the Torah where you talk about, in one spot in the Torah, you talk about the leaders, at leaders being responsible in the congregation not, and then later on it says the leaders are, if the leaders do something wrong, the congregation is also responsible. And it's this like massive thing. And I remember talking about it in class for a little bit, and I laughed. And somebody told me, why are you laughing? Like, they came at me really hard. They're like, why are you laughing? I'm like, because, like, we're going to figure it out, right? And, like, I don't know how you know we're going to figure it out. And then we had this great conversation about how, like, if you come at it from this place of assuming you're going to figure it out, it does actually trivialize it a little bit. And if you come at it from this place of not being sure you're going to figure it out, then it's better if you do figure it out. And it was a really cool conversation, and I was put in my place in, like, a really cool way, and I appreciated it.
Okay.
And I brought that up just because of this. You're welcome.
Wait, so because you're never sure if we can never actually figure it out?
So, no, because I was pretty darn sure we were going to figure it out, and they were like, you're not giving it the weight that it needs.
deserves
It
because-
needs to have the weight, like, of they're struggling with it, so why are you laughing at that struggle? And I'm like, okay. To be fair, I just laugh all the time, so get over it.
Yeah.
But
I laugh when I'm
I laugh all the
uncomfortable.
time. But I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
And so sitting here and having this, like, well, why would he say, you know, why would somebody might come and say, like, he wasn't responsible for it because he didn't, like, he like, they had the choice whether to testify or not. That I think, like that's valid.
You gotta give the fallen camel some weight.
You have to give the fallen camel some weight.
Some
No,
support.
you need to lift that camel
Yeah.
Lift
up.
your camel back up. This is what we learned.
Finally, Rabbi Yehoshua taught that one who knows testimony in support of another but does not testify on his behalf is liable according to the laws of heaven, lest you say that the witness could claim, "Who says that I had come forward and testified on behalf of one litigant? The other litigant would admit liability." Perhaps he would have chosen to take a false oath and absolve himself. Based on that logic, one might have thought that he should not be liable, even
Ooh.
according to the laws of heaven. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua teaches us that in such a case, he is liable according to the laws of heaven.
The Mishnah teaches, if the pen was breached at night, we're back. We're back to the fence. Okay. The Mishnah teaches, if the pen was breached at night or bandits breached, it's that.
I was like, what's going to be breached with this pen?
The sheep subsequently went out and caused damage. The owner of the sheep is exempt. Rabbah says, and this first instance of a pen that was breached is referring specifically to the case where the animal was tunneled under a wall of the pen, and by doing so caused the wall to collapse. In that case, the owner is completely blameless and therefore exempt from liability for any damage that ensues.
Is this a common thing to dig under something to steal someone's sheep?
No, it's the sheep
the
that
sheep
dug.
that dug.
The
So, like,
sheep
I'm
is
just
the
thinking
sheep
because,
dog,
like,
yeah.
like a dog, right? Like
Yeah,
a dog,
like a dog will do that.
will dig under a fence, and then if the fence collapses,
A
it's
dog,
not.
yes,
It's
but
not
do
the owner's
sheep
fault.
tunnel?
It's the dog. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Like if the
Okay.
bandits come by and they like breach the wall, like it's not your fault that the sheep tunneled under it to make it worse.
That's true.
Is it my turn? Did you just
It's your
read?
turn.
It's
my
your turn.
Was this only if a bandit comes?
Or if the
They
if
begin-
the
Or if it
sheep
falls.
gets out by itself.
Because they were talking about the liability of the bandits much earlier.
The Gemara asks, but if the animal did not tunnel under the wall, what is the halakha? What would the owner be liable? What are the circumstances if we say that the pen had a stable wall? That even if the animal did not tunnel, why is the owner liable? What should he have done? Clearly, he could not have been held liable for the damage. Rather, the pen had an unstable wall. The Gemara asks, even if the animal tunneled under the wall and knocked it down, why is he exempt? The damage in this case is initially through negligence and ultimately by accident.
True.
Okay.
Still, my sheep dug a hole.
Yes, but are they forewarned sheep?
I don't know. Can sheep
they
are they
domesticated
warned?
or
Sheep
wild
can't
sheep?
score.
Are they imbeciles?
Are they imbeciles?
Definitely. This works out well according to the one who said that in any case of the damage that is initially through negligence and ultimately by accident, if he is exempt from liability since the ultimate cause of the damage was not his fault. But according to the one who says that in any case of damage that it is initially through negligence and ultimately by accident, he is liable, as even without the accident, his negligence would have caused damage. What is there to say?
According to one who says that in any case it is initially through negligence and ultimately accident. What is there to say? Rather, the case of the Mishnah concerns a stable wall, and even if the animal did not tunnel under the wall, the owner is exempt. And when the statement of Rabbah was stated, it was stated with regard to the latter clause of the Mishnah that says, if the owner left the animal in the sun or conveyed it to a deaf, mute, an imbecile, or a minor, and the animal went out and caused damage, the owner is liable. Concerning this, Rabbah stated, and the owner is liable even if the animal tunneled its way out under the wall of the pen. So now, before we were talking about stable walls, and now
We were talking about an unstable wall,
you'll hear
but this is saying
the Mishnah concerns a stable wall.
So,
So
so
now
they're
if
arguing
the
about whether
wall-
the Mishnah is
yeah,
talking
now
about
it's-
an unstable wall or a stable wall.
Uh-huh.
And other people were saying it was an unstable wall. This person is saying it is a stable wall
Yeah,
that it's talking about.
and they're trying to find other ways to do it.
The Gemara explains, it is not necessary for the Mishnah to mention the case where the animal did not tunnel its way out. In that case, the owner is clearly liable since the entire incident occurred due to his negligence of leaving the animal in the sun, thereby causing it distress and leading it to attempt escape by any possible means. But
Fair enough.
even if the animal tunneled its way out, the owner is liable. And this is the novelty of the ruling. Lest you say that this is a case of damage that is initially through negligence and ultimately by accident, because animals do not typically tunnel their way out of a pen. The Mishnah teaches us that it is considered as though the entire damage resulted from the owner's negligence.
So because my sheep is clearly distressed, it's my fault.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it shouldn't have. It
because
wouldn't have tunneled out
It wouldn't have tunneled out if you didn't
leave it
in the sun.
Yeah.
Even though my sheep could just be a willful creature.
What if it really likes the sun?
Maybe it's happy. Then it wouldn't have tunneled
The
out.
grass is greener on the other side and it knows it.
What is the reason that the owner is liable? What is the reason that the owner is liable? It is that the one who suffered the damage can say to the owner of the sheep, "You should have known that since you left it in the sun. It would utilize any means available for it to use, and it would escape. So you are ultimately responsible for the damage."
Read this next one.
The Mishnah teaches, if the bandits themselves took the sheep out, the bandits are liable.
They were
Good.
always liable. 56b.
The Gemara questions the need for this ruling. It is obvious that this is a halakha, as once they removed the animal, it is now in their custody for all purposes, including responsibility
exactly what
for
you
any ensuing damage.
Yeah, they've just
You're
stolen
like, they've
it.
always been liable. It's
I
their
know.
fault.
It's always the bandits. Blame the bandits.
The Kamma answers, no. This statement is necessary in a case where they stood before the animal and encouraged it to leave the enclosure,
Come
but
on,
did
sheepy
not
sheep.
lead it out directly. So they didn't rope it. They were good bandits. This case is like the case
I
in
just
this.
wanted to play.
This case is like the case in this statement that Rava says, that Rav Matana says, that Rav says,
Good.
with regard to one who stands another's animal near a third person standing grain, and the animal eats the grain, he is liable. The Gemara asks, if he stands the animal there, isn't it obvious that he is liable? The Gemara answers, no. This ruling is necessary in a case where one stood before the animal and encouraged to go toward the grain without leading it. He is nevertheless liable.
Good.
He
Abaya
tricked
said
the
to
sheep
Rav
into
Yosef,
liability.
Abaya said to Rav Yosef, you told us when explaining the statement of Rav Matana in the name of Rav, that is referring to the case where he hit the animal with a stick, and similarly the Mishnah can also be explained as referring to a case where the bandits hit it with a stick and did not lead it out.
Hit it with a stick.
What? Wait, so you told us... Abaye said to Rav, you told us... Explain.
Basically, like, well, last time we talked about this, you said also if you hit it with a stick. That's that's
Okay, that's what it
problem.
sounds like. Okay.
The Mishnah teaches us if the owner conveyed the animal to a shepherd to care for it, the shepherd enters in his place and is responsible for all the damage. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The sages say, in clarification, the shepherd enters in place of whom?
The owner.
If we, yeah, in place of the sheep. And the bandits.
Shepherd's now the sheep.
Congrats.
If we say that the shepherd is in place of the owner of the animal, didn't we already learn on one occasion in a Mishnah, if the owner conveyed his animal to an unpaid bailey, or to a borrower, to a paid bailey, or to a renter, they all enter into the responsibilities and liabilities in place of the owner?
Yes.
What novelty is there in stating that the responsibility now lies with the shepherd to whom the owner conveyed the animal? Rather, it means that the shepherd enters in place of a bailey, to
Yeah.
whom the owner conveyed the animal, who was no longer liable once he conveyed the
So they're
animal
saying-
to a shepherd.
What?
So they're saying the shepherd is in place of the bailey,
To
not
whom
the owner.
to whom the owner conveyed the animal, who is no longer, so the bailey is no longer liable. Oh,
No,
So
the shepherd
the-
is the same as a bailey.
The
is what they're
shepherd
saying.
is the same as the
Which-
bailey.
right, but what are the rules about the bailey? I
Nothing.
don't remember.
There's no rules. It's just the same as they are now the owner. Like, I don't know why they have to bring that up. They're now the same as the owner.
Yeah, the Gemara asks, if so, this Mishnah indicates that the first bailey exempts himself completely by conveying the sheep to a shepherd. The second bailey, and he bears no further responsibility. Shall we? Sorry.
You're good.
Shall we say that Mishnah is a conclusive refutation of the ruling of Rava, as Rava says, a bailey who conveyed the deposit to another bailey nevertheless remains liable.
Okay, so
That's the rule of
so
the
this
bailey.
time the owner did actually gave it to a bailey and then it get to a shepherd.
So okay, it's what it is it's the concern of, does more than one person bear the responsibility?
Right.
Because the bailey, if they give it to somebody else, they still bear some responsibility. So if the shepherd then conveys it to another person, does that shepherd bear some responsibility is the
Yeah.
question.
And,
What's a bailey?
well, like a court bailey, it's like a person that brings documents. I don't know. The first bailey exempts himself
Google
completely.
search of the day.
Shall we say that
Miriam
Mishnah-
Zovin, tell us.
You guys keep
Shall we
talking about
say that
bailey. I'm like,
Mishnah is a conclusive refutation of bailey who conveyed?
A person or party to whom goods are delivered for a purpose such as custody or repair without transfer of ownership.
so like
The
Amazon.
hirer is a bailey.
It's like the delivery guy.
It
A
is.
That's what it
bailey who
is.
conveyed the deposit to another bailey nevertheless remains liable. The Gemara answers, Rava could say to you in response, what does the Mishnah mean when it states he conveyed it to a shepherd? It is referring to a shepherd who conveyed the animal to the shepherd's assistant, Okay, way to get
The shepherd
really
has an
specific.
assistant?
As it is
Why
the
does he have-
typical manner of the shepherd to convey
Apparently it's
animals
the typical manner.
in his charge to his assistant. Maybe they mean like apprentice. Therefore, anyone who gives his animal to a shepherd understands that the shepherd's assistant may also care for the animal, and it is not a violation of the terms of his assignment for the shepherd to convey it to his assistant. Consequently, this Mishnah does not refute Rava's opinion.
Okay, so here's
So,
the deal.
yeah,
so
yeah.
you hand it to an independent contractor, right? But that independent contractor is known for having other independent contractors whom they subcontract their projects to, right? In this case, because the shepherd is like a bailey, that means that that shepherd first is also, so that independent contractor is also responsible and the subcontractor is responsible. Both.
Cool, great.
Yeah,
I'm good
I
with
just
that.
like the idea. It's like, oh, you should know that when you give me something, I'm also going to show
I'm
it to
not
my
the only
assistant.
person. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not the only person who's
taking
now
care
in
of it.
charge of this.
This is a
Yeah.
pet hotel. I have staff.
Staff.
It's your turn, Stephen.
Oh, is it my turn?
Right?
Did you read that?
No, I don't think I
I'll
did.
go read.
I don't know. Maybe I did. There are those who say the same answer in a similar manner. From the fact that the Mishnah teaches the case using the expression, he conveyed it to a shepherd, and does not teach it using the less specific expression, he conveyed it to another, conclude from it that what it means by he conveyed it to a shepherd is that the shepherd conveyed it to his assistant, as is the typical manner of a shepherd to convey an animal to his assistant. But if the shepherd conveyed it to another to care for it in his place, the Mishnah does not rule that the other person enters in his place.
Okay.
Got it.
The Gemara suggests, let us say that the words of the Mishnah therefore support Rava's opinion, as Rava says, a bailey who has conveyed the deposit to another bailey remains liable. Makes sense. The sages say in the rejection of that suggestion, no. Interesting. One cannot infer from the wording of the Mishnah that it is referring specifically to a shepherd conveying the animal to his assistant, since perhaps it teaches the matter in the manner in which it typically occurs, but the same is true even if the shepherd conveyed the animal to another. Therefore, no support can be brought from here for Rava's opinion.
They're like, that's not
Okay.
valid. That argument's not valid. You can't use it.
I'm
Sorry,
not
Rava.
convinced of
Sorry,
that.
Rava.
It was stated that there was a dispute between
Amoraim.
Thank you. Concerning the following issue. With regard to one who is safeguarding a lost item that he has not yet returned, what level of responsibility does he bear?
Oh, don't tell me, because I've lost so many things that people gave to me.
Rava said he is considered to be like an unpaid bailey, whereas Rav Yosef said he's considered to be like a paid bailey.
Paid Bailey.
Okay.
Okay. Their respective opinions are explained. Rabba said that he is considered to be like an unpaid bailey because what benefit comes to him through safeguarding it? Therefore, he is just like any unpaid bailey. Rav Yosef said that he is considered to be like a paid bailey on account of the benefit that he is not required to give bread to a poor person while looking after the lost item.
Obviously.
Since one who is engaged in one mitzvah is exempt from performing another. So it's a mitzvah to hold an item for somebody? Consequently, since there is some benefit involved in looking after the lost item, he is considered to be like a paid bailey.
Okay, so he gets the benefit of not having to do other mitzvot
mitzvot?
because he's busy doing
Yeah.
that one.
Okay. Fine.
This is one interpretation, whereas there are those who explain like this. Rav Yosef said that he is considered to be like a paid bailey. Once the merciful one obligates him against his will to look after lost items, the Torah presumably imposes the high standard of safeguarding on him. Therefore, he is considered to be like a paid bailey.
Just finish it.
Oh, the Gemara presents a mnemonic device for the halachot and the difficulties to be discussed. He returned it, always returned. Chia, you say, breaks payment. Yay! Rav Yosef
I'll
raised an
never forget
objection.
that one.
He returned it, always returned.
Rav Yosef raises an objection to the opinion of Rava from that which is taught in a Baraita, which we will find out tomorrow.
Yay.
Yay!
Yay.
Thanks for studying
Goodbye.
Talmud with us.
Bye.
You have to